Hey, what's going on? This is Alex with Portland Event Films, and today I'm going to talk about the different microphones we use when live streaming. What's going on? My name is Alex with Portland Event Films, and today I'm going to talk about the different microphones that we use for live streaming, which ones you should use, and knowing different scenarios in what microphone is best for the job. So when somebody asks me, what is the best microphone for live streaming? I can't give you a straight answer because it really depends on what you have going on and what you're doing. So the first thing that I'm going to start out with is the mixer that we use. So I use this Yamaha mixer. This is one of my favorite mixers. I use it for my DJ company, and I also use it for my live streaming. Somebody asked, why would you use a mixer? So when we're doing our live streaming, we have a couple different options. One setup we use the A10 Mini, and that's when we're doing a bunch of different switching, and this is when we'll use this mixer. Sometimes we'll run directly into the camera, but that's usually when we're using our live view solo, and we need our microphones to go directly into the camera, into the feed. Now let me explain the benefits of using this mixer. One, you can plug in 8 different microphones. If you need to plug in an iPod, you can plug it in here. Then you can also send a signal out, except for, instead of just using all the mic inputs. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this, but on the back they have a USB port. And so what we can do is we can run the audio directly into the board and send it directly to the computer. Now with the USB, you can't adjust the gain. It's just set at a certain level that runs into your computer. And sometimes you don't have enough volume that you're being sent into the computer. And so I'm gonna explain how we get around those things. Now with this mixer, you can run this into your computer, or you can go in the output, and the output doesn't sound as clean. So this is why I suggest using the USB. And why they put the USB on here is for running into a DAW, and it's usually meant for bands doing recording, but I found that this is the cleanest signal that you're gonna get in your live stream. Me personally, coming from the audio engineering background, I used to produce like remixes. I'm really particular about how my mics sound, and especially the noise floor. When I run out the master out, I can hear a lot more noise than I can via USB. So if you can, get a mixer that has USB and you'll be much happier. So one of my first approaches when doing a live streaming event is figuring out what type of audio that we need to capture, who's gonna be speaking, and just the overall room, and what are some of the elements that we need to deal with. Are we picking up a big band? Do we need to get the room sound? Is it just gonna be the person speaking? Are they a professional? Do they know how to speak on a microphone? And so usually you have a combination of all these different things. I'll have some people that will speak on the microphone where they're real close, and then their proximity gets farther and farther away. And so depending on the type of people and what you're trying to cover, this will have a dramatic impact on what microphone you're choosing for the job. So the first microphone that I want to focus on is the Shure 58 Beta. This is an amazing microphone. It's usually seen for like bands and people singing. It has very good rejection, meaning sound that's coming from the back of it is going to be rejected out. So when you have this microphone and you're holding it, it needs to be nice and close to your mouth to be able to be picked up and sound good. If you hold it just off to the side, you're going to get some rejection and it's not going to sound good. So it's usually on a mic stand, and the person speaking should be about 3 inches from their mouth for it to sound good. As soon as they start backing up, it does not sound good. So it's going to reject a lot of the plosives, and it's going to sound really good when you're right on top of the microphone, and that's the best sound that it's going to get from this microphone. So depending on what type of people are speaking and what type of event you're doing, this microphone is intended for somebody that's going to be right on top of it. They're not going to be moving back and forth. They know that they need to stand right on top of it. So when I'm doing an event, one of the first things that I like to do is I need to find out who all is speaking, and then I like to give them a little coaching on how to speak so I know what I need to do for the best results. So when I get a group of people, let's say at a wedding, and I find out all who's going to be giving all these speeches, I'm going to grab them and say, hey, this is our microphone. We don't hold it up here. We hold it down here. It's like an ice cream cone, but you don't lick it. Up here, it's going to sound nice and good. Down here, we can't hear you. Over here, we can't hear you. So I like to get them all together so that way I can find out who's all speaking in what type of microphone, and so they know how they need to speak on a microphone. Does it work flawlessly every time? No, definitely not. They start drinking at weddings, or they get emotional and they move around and they don't realize that where they are positioned to where the mic's positioned can totally affect the sound of that microphone. So when it comes to doing live events, seminars, right now my company is doing a lot of funerals because we are only allowed to have about 20 to 30 people inside the building. And so this is my go-to microphone for our seminars and the funeral services that we do. Now, a lot of times they'll have a podium and they'll already have a form of this microphone up there. And I'm a big fan of controlling your own audio. When I show up to an event, even if they have microphones there, I bypass all their microphones and I send it directly into our board. Because one, the microphone is going usually into their board, which is creating a little bit of noise. Then it's going into your board, which is creating a little bit more noise, and it doesn't sound as clean. Not only that, but they're controlling the sound that's going through the speakers and also to the live stream. So when you can remove them out of the conversation and just go directly into your own mixing board like we do, you're going to have better control over all the microphones. Because if you have a couple different speaking at once, there's only one volume versus using the mixer that I showed earlier. You can control each microphone individually. If you have to mute a microphone, you can go ahead and do that. If you need a little bit more gain, you can control it. So this is the main microphone that I use. One thing you have to keep in consideration is you need phantom power for this microphone. This microphone here, no phantom power. I can go directly from this microphone into the mixer, but I can also go directly into a camera on a remote shoot and not have to worry about the mixer or providing phantom power to this microphone. Now, the gooseneck microphone is really good because I can set it here on the desk. If I'm up here talking on it, it's gonna sound really bad. It's gonna get, the drivers are gonna be overworked. You're gonna get a lot of clipping. The plosives are gonna be nasty. It's just not gonna sound good. The reason why I like this microphone because it sounds good from here, but I can also be over here, the microphone be down here. The pickup pattern, this is the one that I have is the 418 and it's a super cardioid. So it's the coverage area is gonna be about in this general area. It's about a 3-foot pattern that I found that, usually sounds pretty good. Now, if you have crowd noise or background noise or noise from the speakers, it's gonna pick it up a little bit. So it's a very fine level of how loud you can make this microphone. But I've just found that using this microphone versus this for a lot of my live events this is the way to go, because this microphone sounds good from being about from here all the way back here versus this microphone only sounds good up here. So when you have a bunch of different people speaking and you have different heights, this microphone could be the way to go, because this one also, instead of using like a mic stand, you can easily adjust or change the direction of this microphone. I also like it too because it has a pause button or a mute button down here, so that way if you have to say something off to the side, then it's not going to pick up the audio. So this is one of my favorite microphones. But with this mixer, it has one downfall. So you may have heard the term fathead or cloud lifter, and that's what we use. So this is a fathead, and what this does is this gives this mixer a clean 26 dBs of volume with a very minimal noise. Earlier when I said that mixer goes into the computer directly and has no gain on the USB portion of it. So you need something like this to get enough volume into the computer and not sound like crap. So that's the only downfall of using this microphone. I also have a Rode NTG3, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. If you're going to use that type of microphone, you need something like this to give a little bit more gain. Now that's only going in through the USB. If you're going in XLR to XLR out, then you don't need to worry about it because you have a little bit more gain, but it's not as clean of a sound. Now on this mixer, I'll show you real quick. So with this mixer, you have all these different fader knobs. So you have your gain up here, your mids, your highs, your lows, and then you have the volume level or the fader down here. And you can go to about 3 o'clock. You have all the way down here, but once you start getting past 3 o'clock, you're gonna add a lot of gain and gain noise. So the next microphone that I want to talk to you about is the Rode Pro Podcaster. And pretty much the only time that we ever use this microphone is when we're live streaming podcasts. It takes a lot of gain, just like the Rode NTG3 that we use, and you have to be right on top of it. As soon as you start getting off to the side, it doesn't sound good, and you need a lot of gain to make this microphone sound good. As soon as you start moving away, it does not sound good. Sometimes we'll put a windscreen over it or a pop filter. This one doesn't have very good low ends, but I feel that it is really, really good when you're setting up a enclosed room. It's treated, you're not dealing with a lot of wind, and it's just that sit down podcast microphone. So usually when I'm doing a live event, I won't use something like this, but for a podcast, they're amazing, and I think I only paid like $125 for this microphone. So this is the Rode VideoMic Pro. A lot of events that we do are inside and outdoors, and I'll usually put 1 or 2 of these on my camera. Now when I'm doing like my wedding videos, I have a bunch of these on all the cameras, but usually I put this on one camera, and usually during my live stream, this is just as a backup, or if I need some crowd noise. It does not sound good. You're gonna hear a dramatic difference compared to the other microphones that I use. But I use this for my video production, but I also use this on a camera for a backup. So I use the Ada Mini Pro, and so with that, we can use audio from the cameras via HDMI. I choose not to do that, but it's always good to throw one of these on the camera, so that way if something happens to your other microphones, you have a backup and you're not just using straight camera audio. So that's what I use this microphone for. So the next microphone that I have is the Rode M5, and what I use this for is when I'm doing let's say a church service, and I have a band or I have a couple people playing instruments where I don't need to be necessarily nice and close, a little bit away. I'll take these microphones and I have them on a stand, and I will cross them for stereo sound. And it's just enough volume to pick up the different instruments where I don't need it to be super loud, and I don't need, recording quality, but I want to get something closer to the instruments that are being played so that people on the live stream can pick it up and hear it a little bit different. And it's kind of my go-to whenever I have multiple people playing instruments, or if there's somebody playing a piano, I'll stick it like right inside the piano. So this is a good microphone. I think I bought these like 4 or 5 years ago. Don't quote me, but I think I paid like $200 for both these microphones. I don't use them a ton. They do require phantom power, so that's why we use the mixer. And so they're a good microphone just to have in your bag. You probably won't use it that much, but it's kind of my go-to. So now when I'm doing services outside, my go-to microphone, I'll pull this down so you guys can see this. So this is the Rode NTG3. Now this is probably for live streaming the last one that I would suggest just because it's so expensive. But when I'm doing my video productions and I need nice, clean sound audio, like this is the microphone that I absolutely love, and it's my go-to. It is very good at rejecting sound from the back, but it has a nice pickup pattern where if you step off to the side or move around, it's still gonna pick up. It has good rejection, and I love the low end on the microphone. There's just something about this microphone and the way that it picks up audio that I absolutely love. It's just a nice, deep, throaty sound. So when it comes to doing my production videos, this is my go-to mic. I'll throw a lav on somebody, but if I can, this is the microphone that I'm going to use to pick up audio. So those are all the microphones that I use and how I use them in my different scenarios. If you guys have any more questions, leave them in the comments below. My name is Alex Ramey with Portland Event Films. Thank you guys.